I'm Becca. I'm a community builder and I'm a consultant, and I've been doing this for a while. My first community that I ever built was probably in second grade. And so I found that one of the biggest questions that we faced in community is, do you want a community or do you want an audience? And often people think they want a community when they really want an audience. And today I wanted to talk about what the difference is between a community and an audience and what that means for you. And so one of the common misconceptions is what you want. And so people who want an audience often want a large number of people who are aware of them or their product or what they're doing. People who want a community want an engaged group of members who interact in some way. It can be challenging to understand and communicate the difference. My background is in English and in literature. I taught college English for 10 years. And so for me, I like to think of it in terms of story. An audience, that's the people who read the story. They might be deeply devoted to it. They also might share that story with other people. They might tell people that they love that story. But they're people who are on the outside, who are looking in and who are thinking about the characters, and they are looking at the characters from the outside. Community is the story. Those are all the people who are part of that story. They create the story. They are the characters. You'll have your main characters. That's often the community builder or the power users. They're people who guide that plot line, the main ideas, the trajectory of the community. They're literally constructing the story as it goes along. What are the things they're doing? Who is involved in planning those things? Who engages in those events? And how do we follow them along the way? The minor characters are still part of that story, right? They come and they go. They're crucial to the story, but they're not driving the actions or the inactions. Sometimes you don't even see them for a long time. They're gone for a while, but then they suddenly come in and they impact the story in a meaningful way. And so if we think about audience versus community in that way, I think it helps us to differentiate what we're looking for. And if you think about it in terms of story versus community, your community is going to be much smaller than your audience. So you might have a New York Times bestseller and many people have read what you've written. You can have a really large and impactful audience. But you can also have those small and meaningful members who make up your community, and they're the reason why the audience comes, right? They talk about what's happening within the community. They talk about all of the amazing things that you're doing, and they bring more people to listen, to be aware, and to understand what's happening within that community. And so I think that there's those two major plot points that we look at in terms of what drives a community, how do we create the community, and what that means for what we're doing. And I think that there's a whole nother conversation around metrics and what that means for a community, because I think that an audience is equally valuable as a community. Community takes more work, but it really will end up driving and impacting the growth of those audience members, and we should be working towards creating both that community. You have to have the community, you have to have the book and the story before you have that huge invested audience. And that's worth mentioning and worth noting today. And I hope that this makes a little bit sense for you if you're a community builder or if you're someone that thinks, hey, I've got this up and coming product and I want to be able to have community. What does that mean to you? So think about those things. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I'll talk to you next week.